final session on recommendations and suggestions. We request Sri Rajeshwar Dyal to kindly come up on stage.
We had a very intense discussion in the last 2 days about the role of community media and mainstream media, so far as human development is concerned. Yesterday we had one very interesting session on resumption of mining in Goa and who will be benefiting from it. And one of the panel speakers said, how is it connected to the theme of this? I just wanted to find out that, look, with mining, the lives of so many people are associated, I think. And it's a case of human development, human interest story. So that's why the something may not be directly related to the role of community media or mainstream media, but it's a human development story. We were discussing as to readers decide about the fate of the newspaper. Yes, but these days, the big newspapers have, they resort to hard sell and marketing strategy. That is how they are able to make inroads into the market, and that's how they try to sell their paper. Times of India took the lead, and the other papers are also following now. There is another element in media, which is called media habit. You know, I'm habitual of reading Times of India for the last 30 years. I will not change that paper even though I don't like it. There are many people, you know, who don't like to watch Arthur Goswami shouting at the top of his voice every day, but they still watch that program. So his TRP goes up, of course, people are watching it. But they think that people don't like it also. So media habit is another element which decides about what called the TRPs and the readership of the newspapers. So now the session is open for suggestions and recommendations as to what should be done, what should be the role of community media or mainstream media for the human development stories, for taking care of the human development aspects in the content.
What we'll do is we'll go through the sessions, first session wise, and I think we already have some recommendations session wise. Have you done a session wise? So we'll just put it up on the screen. You want to add anything more to it? Otherwise we'll let it pass and go to the next session.
Till it comes up, I think we can go with the first session, is devolution of powers to Panchayat, key to good governance. Sita Ram will speak over this.
No, just go by the recommendation.
Also mention if any government representative was present for that session. That would be
just mention that.
Because that is the biggest problem we face.
We had Mr. Matthew Samuel, who's the Secretary Panchayati Raj, present for this session. It was chaired by Mr. Ramakant Kalap. Mr. Sitaram Singh, he put up a point saying that Goa is a tiny state and does not need Panchayat Raj Act, as it is highly urbanized and there's no rural area as such. Goa is overrepresented. 14 lakh elect 1,763 representatives for a tiny state, which can actually be done by only one collector. So, do we need to approach the Supreme Court, as we don't need 12 ministers? It was always done by 2 or 3.
I agree that we don't need so many ministers, but I don't agree that we don't need Panchayat. Definitely, because that Panchayati Raj is a different aspect. Ministers definitely, let us agree, it can be done by 2-3 ministers.
So when you do the recommendation, you can just say that
Panchayati Raj should be disbanded.
Yeah, we should not take that point.
It is a local self-government.
Then there was another point, avoid using term good governance, but this is of course, instead ethical governance, of course. That is...
ethical government is supposed to be part of
good governance.
So rather use ethical governance than good governance now. And then Sota D'Souza also was recommending to use Gandhi's book on Swachhata. We have to get the name of the book.
No, that's okay. I don't think that's a recommendation.
Yeah, come to some
intelligent.
land record, civil code and
avoid democratization
no.
of corruption.
Reforms required for land record, civil code and successional rights.
right, okay, fine.
Yeah, and solution to garbage, of course. So, yeah.
Then during the discussion they said that the moderator is required for Gram Sabhas rather than only the Sarpanch to moderate the Gram Sabhas.
That is fine.
That's fine. So go ahead with that. We'll just take it. Secretary LDC scale to be given training.
Secretary is actually an LDC scale employee. He should be given further training so that he can carry out his duties more efficiently.
Yeah, the Little burial grounds and crematoria
Yeah,
have
fine.
at least
If
one
people
per.
don't have, they should be
Yeah.
priority.
We should have at least one burial ground per taluka because this is a huge
Fine.
crisis wherein we don't have enough of crematoria or burial grounds.
Any other suggestions for panchayats? Is there in that session? Or any of you were present for that session? Do you have any more?
Yeah, for the panchayat, they always send an observer to observe whether the thing is done correctly. Now, the observer does not give any report. And I find when I've attended Gram Sabhas and the meeting, first and foremost, they don't follow the procedure. I've gone to the director of panchayats, everything is laid down. So they only follow that laid down procedure, but they don't. That's why the whole mess happens.
So observer should give his
The
report.
observer should give a written report on what is wrong and why they are not following the directions as per the director of panchayat.
One more point is there. Arvind Kejriwal, around 2 years back, had submitted a report, made a presentation to the government about
Panchayat.
amendments to the Goa Panchayati Raj Act with more devolution and also giving more autonomy to the Gram Sabhas, because at the moment Gram Sabhas people come and shout, but nothing happens because ultimately they don't have a secure say in the legal sense. So that
More
kind of-
autonomy to the Gram Sabha.
Yeah.
Any other suggestion?
Yeah, one more very important suggestion is about the minutes. The minutes are seems to be not written properly. So most of the Gram Sabha's time is wasted in saying that this is not proper, this is not written properly. So the writing of the minutes should be done soon after that. It's all laid down, but it's not followed. And they produce the minutes just before, and then there's a complete waste of time just saying that what we said has not come.
Minutes should be drafted properly.
Proper training.
Proper training, yeah. That comes under proper training. Yes.
Nandini, considering that how much of a problem there is with
Use the mic.
corpses, corpses,
That's
I think we should pitch in for a crematorium both in the North Goa and South Goa. I think it's very important to have that.
Crematorium.
We have taken note of that.
Electric
One,
crematorium.
Electric crematorium is very
Electric.
sanitary, hygienic, and a lot of people are asking for it now.
Any other suggestions? Otherwise we move to the next.
Second is delegation of the financial power. That is not happening. The municipality doesn't get the money that it's supposed to get. You have a super body called say G Sudha or somebody who's deciding what should be done. You know, the PDA is actually only a recommendatory and a technical body advising the municipality, but he has become the approving authority. You know, so there is a usurping of the local body's power.
So there should be a proper delegation for financial power.
Financial delegation.
Financial delegation
for local self-government bodies.
for local self-government bodies. Okay. Now we can move on to the next section.
Yeah.
Resumption of mining go benefits.
set up Goenche Mati Permanent Fund. Deposit money due to people and use only the interest for it.
That was Claude Alvarez.
Claude Alvarez's
Yes.
recommendation. So you must have seen.
Are you okay with it? Then,
Shah Commission,
that's not a recommendation.
No, ensure the way going forward by changing the way of doing business
That is for them, corporate.
That is for the
so
corporate.
as to allow beneficiaries not to undergo the pain and suffering
That's fine.
again. Christopher Fonseca has filed to the Supreme Court that mining should be in the public sector.
Yeah.
As it's the public.
What we can say is that these were some of the recommendations which came out with this. It's not necessary that all of us have to agree on that. You know, so we can say that some of the recommendations was that mining should be in the public sector. Then the state, there was also recommendation that the state should own the mining, form a cooperative.
State should conduct, that is operate.
Operate mining.
Mining to resume in scientific and sustainable way. Gerard D'Souza.
D'Souza, not D'Souza.
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 Asking us where we go when illegal mining was going on to be
Take
more.
the next point, transparent mining policy by June.
Be after the
He has
year.
announced it, that should be pursued
That should be pursued. Transparent mining policy by June
by June.
should be pursued by whom? By the media.
Even why not center also as part of this with the government.
By the government. Then there is amendment of laws to amend the old laws to new. Buffer zones to be on scientific basis.
That is his opinion.
That is his opinion.
To question the
That is not-
logicality.
No, go ahead.
Let's go ahead. Anything else on mining?
Media to analyze the report, analyze situations and to report it for society.
Yeah, I think that is the underlying theme with every session. That the media has to analyze and report and give the voice.
Then the next topic on how
Effective is higher education to create a knowledge society.
This is fine first.
there should be a law or a mechanism in place to check fake
Educational
institutions and lack of industry, so encourage industry so that proper internship and industry interaction is promoted in Goa.
First point should be law and mechanism in place to check fake education and publicize among people.
Awareness,
Yes,
create awareness
and
about
create
Goa.
awareness.
Create awareness. Then you have promote international collaboration and open networking to help universities to be in tune to Goan economy. Proper funding by local government and businesses. For what? Proper funding for what?
For higher education.
For higher education.
Because local government and local businesses are not at times supporting. So we take that point now, both of them.
Then
Goa needs to change its attitude of being content. Okay, fine.
check unfair teacher recruitment process to avoid ruining of generation.
Due to faulty education. Encourage people to migrate.
After providing quality education, so as to compete with the best in the world.
Fine.
Now that you can't, I mean, this is a very personal, philosophical point. How can you encourage people to migrate before or after?
Observation.
It's an observation. It's an observation.
Now, Mr. Samuel has also reminded us about like during Portuguese
we
days
don't have
that
to, yeah.
we have reached. Cyber Aid scheme as a government encouraging ICT competent population and check commercialization of population. How?
This commercialization of
Education.
Education.
Not public.
This is the feedback thing.
I think there needs to be more stress on vocational than just general.
More ITIs. More ITIs.
But then there was a point raised. There was a point raised that 12 years of vocational education, but it does not show results. So
That's the,
But there is no
they not gone about it the right way.
outdated syllabus.
Outdated syllabus.
It's outdated syllabus.
for vocational programs,
Yeah.
vocational.
Vocational program, as well as engineering.
So improve the syllabus,
Update.
update the syllabus.
Yeah, that is the reason nobody wants women engineers in industry,
Not only update syllabus, make them industry ready.
in industry oriented.
Industry
It
oriented.
should be relevant to the requirement of the industry.
Update the syllabus to make it
Industry standard.
industry oriented.
Industry ready is better.
Industry ready.
I mean, if you are going to compete with China on the manufacturing sector, you need blue collar workers. You don't have. And we have all the MBAs sitting in the AC office, but who's going to work on the shop floor? Unless there is vocational emphasis.
Are you expecting many more manufacturing units coming up?
No, no. What I mean is, if you're talking about engineering,
The trend is very different. There's hardly any interest in manufacturing industry. In manufacturing, we can't compete with China because our entrepreneurs are interested in access to natural resources. Since 1990, the manufacturing has reached a saturation point. Nobody is interested. Do you expect Ambani to start factories? No. They would like to have access to gas. They would like to have access to mines. They would like to have access to land. Manufacturing is something very difficult to come by now. I don't know whether we really should go in. There was a time, 15 years ago, I think Premji had suggested that we should be starting ITIs so that we give some skills. Because manufacturing is likely to shift from Europe to Asia and India. That went to China, not came to India, because we didn't give any training. And now it's very difficult. Manufacturing has it's just an optimism that manufacturing will start in a big way. It's just an optimism. I'm very doubtful about this, and I think many economists, because we commissioned a paper recently from a top economist, and said, no, the manufacturing is not going to pick up. Because the entrepreneurs, the big business houses in India are not interested in that.
That second point, community media should satisfy, no, it's not supplement, I think, whatever.
Supplement mainstream media. That's what you mean, right? This is Tara supplement.
Tara,
Supplement non-mainstream media.
not second.
No, supplement mainstream media. Community media should supplement mainstream media.
Not second.
Not mainstream media, small media. Small media.
So it's vice versa.
Yes.
Mainstream
of course.
media should supplement.
Not
No,
mainstream
ma'am,
media should supplement.
the original point was-
Community should support
Community
small
should support
newspapers.
small media, that's what.
Ma'am, I'll just read the point that we actually noted was community media should satisfy
No.
mainstream media. So you're not.
So what she is trying to say is community media should support, community should support small media. That is what she
Small
is,
media.
not community media.
What I'm saying is that mainstream media is already highly commercialized, it's owned by corporates, it's owned by politicians, it's owned by very rich businessmen. It is a small media which is really struggling to survive because of, I hope that it has ethics as one of its components.
I'd like to give one suggestion. I think Commander Narayanan should give a workshop on how to run a community newspaper, so that many other community places, places like Ponda and Tanjim and other places can also start newspapers. And I would give my space for free to you.
So there was, after we started about 2 or 3 years, a lot of such similar concepts sprouted in Panjim and elsewhere. Unfortunately, it's not big money business.
No, but then how have you sustained it for so long? I
The
think.
family is running it.
Yeah, our overheads are zero. We have no
So,
employees. We have
all
no.
these suggestions can be given in a workshop, and I think this should be encouraged. I mean, so considering we don't have any kind of mainstream community media here.
In fact, I was looking at like you say, avenues of survival when I was going through the DAVP website as to the percentage of advertisements that go to small newspapers, etc. So they can increase that percentage. I think now it is 13% as per the DAVP website in terms of governmental ads. Because even the mainstream media gets a huge revenue from governmental tenders and ads and other things. So they can increase that percentage. And it's of 13%, make it 25%. That itself will automatically increase the revenue coming in. Because ultimately, somewhere the money has to come into print.
I mean, those are, you can't ask DAVP to do something like that. It will take forever. You should, at your ground level, what are you going to do? I think you should not depend on DAVP so much as
I'm saying every little drop counts. So
Yeah.
little policy changes also make add a few drops.
No, one big problem, what I find is that some of them try to dump it and think that by going with big numbers by free circulation, they can impress the advertiser. Advertiser is a smart person. He doesn't get impressed with this dumped copies. As she said, free means many people don't even see it. So advertiser is not going to fall for you. His strength is he goes to the local advertiser, as he said, to a local pharmacy. So that kind of, if you keep that is
No,
fine.
and there has to be content value also.
Yeah.
I mean, the reader is not going to just look at the ads and go away. They have any content value. You are actually building that kind of interaction.
Actually, you should ask your readers only to write. I mean, they should be your brand.
That is happening. There is, but like I said, in many cases, if something that is, pointing fingers at the administration, etc., people don't want their names to be there. I'll write, but don't put my name.
Just make it a bureau, make it Vasco watch bureau.
You give us the details, and we will.
You put it under the bureau, nobody would question. Anonymity.
Yeah, that's why the internet is huge, because there's anonymity. Anybody can write what he wants.
No longer.
Media to make people think independently, doing the myth that the newspapers make money. I think that example Commander Narayanan has already given his own.
Next.
Treading on need to find a model of what works, alternative media to shape the mainstream. The final points, need to set up community media in Goa.
Yes, the International Center has been thinking about setting up a community radio, but the initial cost of setting up the radio is so high that even despite being subsidized by the government 50%, it's still too high. So we're still looking for some sponsors, and we are willing to set up because we are on a plateau, and the range of our transmitter could go to more than 10 kilometers. Exactly, community radio, your transmitter goes to about 10 kilometers range, but because of the height, it can reach more. So we can really cover right up to Mapsa and that area also. But cost is something that is deterring us.
So sponsors means they will also see numbers which you cover. They will be small numbers.
Yeah.
One suggestion.
And there should be also media literacy cell. Like I was saying, like people should able to participate in the this newspapers and all in the media. So there can be like people can be aware about the media functioning and all. So there should be a media literacy cell with people.
Media what cell?
Media literacy.
Media literacy cell in the newspapers.
No.
Huh.
He says it should be. He says it should be formed like say international center. We had this suggestion last year also, if you remember.
Yes.
As a readers forum.
Readers forum.
Or media literacy cell, whatever.
I still offer my place for
Most of the
readers
problems
forum.
among people are that they are simply not aware of the dynamics, how this big media functions.
Yes.
That is why often there are complaints. I get complaints that one fellow says, I gave to X newspaper some news, and after 4 days I called reporter. Reporter says it is not published, then it must have gone to my this dustbin. The person is shocked. So why this kind of things happen? Readers should know. That's why I'm saying that would be very important.
Maybe we should have a media literacy workshop, where we can talk about these kind of issues. We can think about that.
Community radio, one model that has been mulling in my head for quite a while, because the challenge for you to disseminate information depends on how many people are listening to you. You may broadcast it, but he's on Radio Indigo listening to whatever else. He's not listening to you on your frequency. So one of the models that I was thinking of was just the way we are doing on the print way. Like I pay the distributor to deliver it to the homes of the people. He's not doing it free of cost for me. So there has to be some incentive for him to decimate that newspaper.
See, if the community is not interested in their own welfare, nobody can do anything about it. When we are talking about community's problem, right? The community and they themselves are going to participate in that. And if they are not going to listen, there is no way you can do anything about it. I'm sorry.
I was just thinking of a very simple way to get heard. of where you have a community radio and you make small transistors of a fixed frequency which is your frequency and give it to all the chai shops like they do this.
What is the investment cost on that? The capital investment cost is sky high. So I know of a country which is doing that. I know of a place which is already doing that, but that I think is not in India. Yeah, it's not in India. There is something like that. Another thing is to have loudspeakers in the panchayats. When you're broadcasting it at that time, you just let the community sit around over there and listen to a community hall. Just that way.
The listenership of community radio is ensured because the programs are produced in collaboration with the community itself, and they are bound to listen to it. There was a great experiment of community television in Ahmedabad, on the outskirts of Ahmedabad, Kheda experiment.
Right.
That experiment continued for more than 10 years because programs were produced in collaboration with the people of that area, and they were watching it every day on the television itself. And when that transmission was being removed from there, the community resisted, and the experiment is still going on. So, because it is democratization of media where people themselves are participating in the program, naturally you expect the listenership and viewership to be high.
Another thing is that we make capsules of this community programs and give it to All India Radio. They are mandated to, because it's a government-owned state radio, they have to broadcast these capsules. So one can think of those things, instead of setting up a community radio, which is cost so expensive, you can start making capsules, 1 hour capsules, half an hour capsules, in your community, in your panchayat, of a problem. Get a doctor over there, make him talk, and have a question-answer session with some, problems that you have. Local, problems, local issues. Make a 1 hour program, make a capsule, give it to the All India Radio. They should broadcast it. So, there are many ways of doing something like this.
And there are very successful community radio stations now, very successful, commercially viable also. They are making good revenue out of advertisement, and their listenership is also very high. There are several examples of such successful community radio stations.
For example?
In Madhya Pradesh.
In Madhya Pradesh.
I have the names.
No, in my neighborhood, in Haryana, in my neighborhood of Gurgaon, there is a community radio station which is making huge profit out of commercial revenue because the listenership is very high. So there are several examples where community radio stations are doing very well actually, and campus radio stations are doing very well. They are not talking only about the syllabus or the curriculum, but they are talking about the problems of the community itself also.
I'm wondering.
Questions? Where this community media is concerned? Yeah. Media redresses sessions, and we just put that on.
Mainstream media needs to focus on human issues and take them to a logical solution. Point number 10, you mentioned that. Media to play a role of opposition.
We'll circulate these, we'll draft these properly and circulate it to all the participants. We have their email. I think all of you have given your email. If you have not, kindly give your email addresses so that we can just circulate all these suggestions. And then we'll send them to the respective authorities and to the media and have it publicized and put it on our website also. So any other suggestions? Any other recommendations, suggestions? And especially, I don't think that we should go into that establishment. I think we should. I think the reader should also play a role in this whole thing. So become part of the media, as you said. This is a way to become part. File RTIs and become part of the media also. There are so many ways. There's an entire stretch where there is no street light working in the evenings. But on this Miramar stretch only, Kampal stretch, there is a large stretch which is so dangerous because the road curves, and every month there's an accident which happens there because it's so dark and the road curves dangerously. At the moment I only see one activist who writes about these things and gets maligned for it. So that media, that website should not become like that. And I don't think I should know who I'm talking about.
Most of the municipal corporations in Europe, we have got something called Fix My Street.
Any other, we can work on most of these ideas that have been brought up in the last part. And anything else? Or should we wind up now? So thank you very much, and we will work there definitely. Frederick, what you said, we can look at a group, a Google group, or think group or think tank or whatever, who has, and throw up these ideas and let the media pick it up also. Basically, I feel at the end of the day, whatever it is, the mainstream media, what it carries, actually then gets, worked on by the policymakers. Otherwise, people can keep talking and then, nothing happens. So that's the whole thing. The end result is that whatever we write actually should be taken care of. Something should happen, something should move. So anyway, all these suggestions, carry them, we'll put these suggestions down, circulate them, and you come up with yours and you tell us that is okay, and then we will send them to the media also, and to the respective ministries also, I think we'll send them to. So thank you very much. I think it's been a very, very interesting 2 days.
One point.
Yeah.